It's never too late.
The difficult part of not speaking Spanish is not being able to communicate with family members. It's hard enough not creating a bond with immediate family. I remember cooking with Mama in the late afternoon, asking her why she never introduced me to the Spanish language. In the most quiet tone, she tells me, "I don't want you to get confused with both languages." She was only trying to protect me. It was the summer of 2011 on a really hot June day in Mexico. We went to my grandpa's beautiful ranch in the middle of nowhere, where we had a family picnic with immediate family. As I walked through the front doors of the White House, my grandpa, grandma, aunts, uncles, and cousins immediately greeted me. I was overwhelmed by the words they were saying to me because I had no understanding of the meaning. The words were coming at me fast as a race car. I was struggling to communicate with family members because of the lack of knowledge of Spanish language I was never exposed to. At one point, I was sitting in a big, cozy brown couch with one of my cousins who does speak English. Lucy and me wasted time talking about my life in the US and hers in Mexico. I created a special bond with her. While we were sitting, my 60-year-old grandpa, dressed in cowboy boots and a fan, walked into the room with the cane in his left hand and was with my tall cousin Rosa, who has long brown hair and was carrying a rope in her right hand. I noticed Rosa walking in, and she looked at me with those big brown evil eyes. Grandpa suggested to Rosa to take me horseback riding around the ranch. Rosa was standing next to the big fireplace in the living room with Grandpa and looked over her shoulder and then turned back to our Grandpa and said with laughter, "Qué chistoso, ella está en México y no sabe hablar español, ¿cómo piensas que va a saber a montar?" Which means, "That's funny, she is in Mexico and she can't even speak Spanish. How do you expect her to horseback ride?" After my cousin Lupe explained to me what Rosa said, I could feel my face getting hot red because of all my anger towards her. I looked at Rosa with a fake smile on my face and went on the horseback ride. Later that day, I was sitting on a red bench in my room looking out the big glass window watching the sunset, when my older brother Riddell walked through the blue door into my room. He quickly sits on the red bench next to me and noticed tears running down my face. Riddell then proceeds to ask me what was wrong. I slowly explained what happened earlier that day. I was telling him how much I felt like I couldn't fit in because I couldn't understand what Rosa was telling Grandpa. As I pour out my tears, he hugs me and wipes my tears away from my cheek. Radel explained to me if Rosa were in my position talking to me, she would probably feel an outcast because she couldn't communicate in English like I couldn't communicate in Spanish. He said, "What are you going to do? Or are you just going to be all hurt about it?" I thought to myself that maybe I offended her in some way. I was thinking of what I did wrong, but in reality, she was just making fun of me because I looked the part, but didn't act or speak the part. I just felt like a piece of nothing. While we were in my room, sitting watching the sunset, Rodel comes up with this great idea of me learning the basic Spanish. I wanted to show Rosa that I can communicate with her in some Spanish. Well, I just wanted to rub it in her face. The most important thought that I thought about was I wanted to have a bond with Rosa. Early morning the next day, I was making breakfast with my mom and my aunts. While I was mixing the pancake mix, Mom was making the coffee and my aunts were chopping the strawberries. They were kind to teach me some Spanish. I was repeating what my aunts were saying, but I guess I didn't say the words correctly. My mom and my aunt started to giggle a little. My face turned red as a tomato, and I hid myself, but I kept on trying and trying to say the words and understanding them. While we were laughing and cooking, Rosa, dressed in her boots with a red dress on, she came into the kitchen and noticed me mixing the packing mix and talking some Spanish. I said hola, and Rosa made a big smiling on her face. I felt my heart just warm up inside me. I noticed this was the beginning of a cousin relationship. I broke down a linguistic border between my family members by learning a new language. I also gained a language that I can communicate with many more individuals and form a better bond.